What would you do if your Social Security check suddenly changed? In this video, Money Smart Basics will reveal Trump's 6 SSA reforms that could directly affect you. Remember to like and subscribe for more Money Smart Basics videos. If you have any suggestions for financial literacy topics, please leave a comment. Stay until the end to receive a bonus tip. Hello. Today, we're focusing on the specific Social Security changes made during the Trump administration and their implications for your retirement. During President Trump's tenure, several policy shifts and legislative actions significantly altered Social Security, impacting millions of Americans' retirement plans. Key changes included proposed payroll tax cuts, adjustments to cost of living calculations, and revisions in disability benefit reviews, all of which have lasting effects on retirement timing and benefits. We'll delve into these Trump-era changes, helping you understand their impact and plan your retirement with confidence. Let's get started. Let's dive into how the Trump administration played a role in shifting the Social Security goalposts, changes that have real consequences for millions of Americans planning their retirement. While the full retirement age, or FRA, has been gradually increasing for decades, the Trump administration introduced several regulatory and administrative changes that affected how and when people could access their benefits. Although the FRA increase itself was set in motion by earlier legislation, the Trump era saw new rules and tightened eligibility reviews that made the process of claiming benefits more complex for many. For example, the administration implemented stricter reviews for disability benefits and increased the frequency of continuing disability reviews, making it harder for some to maintain their Social Security disability insurance. These changes reflected a broader push to ensure the system's solvency, but they also meant more hoops for beneficiaries to jump through. The Trump administration's approach wasn't a sudden overhaul, but a series of regulatory tweaks that added up over time. For those born in 1960 or later, the full retirement age remained set at 67, but the process of qualifying for and maintaining benefits became more challenging under these new rules. The changes that took effect during and after the Trump years are part of this ongoing transition, reinforcing the new benchmarks and adding layers of scrutiny. In practical terms, this means not only waiting longer for full benefits, but also facing more paperwork and eligibility checks along the way. It's like running a marathon where the finish line keeps moving, and now there are extra checkpoints before you can cross. Even a seemingly small regulatory change can have a big impact on your retirement timeline and financial planning. The main takeaway: patience and careful planning are more important than ever. If you were counting on retiring at 65 with full benefits, you'll need to adjust your expectations and your savings strategy to account for these new hurdles. Claiming benefits before reaching the new, higher FRA is still possible, but the Trump administration's changes mean the penalties and reviews are stricter and more permanent. Any reduction in your monthly check is now even more significant, and it's a lifelong decrease. Deciding when to claim your benefits has become a more complex calculation, with new rules and reviews to consider alongside your financial needs. For younger generations, 67 is the new 65, but the path to get there is more complicated than ever. This isn't just a change in numbers, it's a shift in how we approach retirement planning in the wake of recent policy changes. It forces us to rethink our careers, our savings, and even our expectations for what retirement will look like. You may need to work longer, save more, or consider new ways to transition into retirement. The key is to plan with the new rules in mind, building your financial future on the reality of a 67-year-old FRA and the regulatory environment shaped by recent administrations. Recognizing these changes and adapting to them is the first step toward a secure retirement in today's America. Trump-era policies extended the wait for full Social Security benefits, pushing the full retirement age to 67. Now, claiming at 62 means facing a steeper permanent cut, 30% less. This policy shift has made it even harder for early claimants to keep up as living costs rise. Waiting past 67 still increases your benefit, rewarding those who can delay. But with these changes, many find it tougher to wait, raising new challenges and questions about fairness for today's retirees. Now let's dive into how the Trump administration tackled the challenge of inflation in Social Security calculations, specifically the cost of living adjustment, or COLA. For retirees on a fixed income, the COLA remains a vital lifeline. This annual adjustment is designed to help Social Security benefits keep up with inflation, so retirees don't lose purchasing power as prices rise. When the cost of essentials like milk, gas, and housing goes up, the COLA is supposed to ensure your monthly check still covers your needs. It's a crucial mechanism for maintaining financial stability throughout retirement. Under the Trump administration, there was significant discussion about how this adjustment should be calculated. Traditionally, the COLA has been based on the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, or CPIW. The CPIW tracks a basket of goods and services to measure inflation as experienced by working-age Americans. But the Trump administration recognized that the spending patterns of retirees, especially on healthcare and housing, differ from those of younger workers. Retirees spend a larger share of their income on these categories, which often rise faster than general inflation. This means the traditional CPIW may not fully reflect the inflation retirees actually face. During the Trump years, there was debate about shifting to a different formula for COLA, specifically the Chained Consumer Price Index, or chained CPI. The chained CPI accounts for the substitution effect, where consumers switch to cheaper alternatives as prices rise. For example, if beef prices go up, people might buy more chicken instead. The chained CPI tries to capture this real-world behavior, which the traditional CPIW does not. Advocates argued that using the chained CPI would provide a more accurate and fiscally responsible measure of inflation for Social Security. The Trump administration considered this shift as a way to slow the growth of benefits and help preserve the Social Security Trust Fund. By reflecting how people actually adjust their spending, the chained CPI could reduce the risk of over-adjusting benefits. From an economic modeling perspective, this approach was seen as more sustainable for the program's long-term health. However, critics argued that switching to the chained CPI would result in smaller annual increases for retirees, potentially eroding their purchasing power over time. The Trump administration's consideration of this policy sparked heated debate about how best to balance fiscal responsibility with the needs of America's seniors. So, how did the Trump administration's approach to measuring Social Security benefits impact retirees? In essence, the administration supported shifting to a more conservative measure for calculating annual cost of living adjustments, or COLAs. This meant favoring the chained CPI over the traditional CPIW, a change that generally results in slower growth of benefit increases. The difference in any single year might seem minor, just a few tenths of a percentage point. For example, a COLA of 2.3% instead of 2.6% may not feel like a big deal at first. Most retirees might barely notice the slightly smaller increase in their monthly check during the first year. The real impact, however, comes from the compounding effect over time. Each year, the smaller COLA is applied to a slightly smaller base, and this effect builds year after year. The gap between what retirees would have received under the old formula and the new one grows wider with every passing year. What starts as a few dollars a month can become hundreds of dollars a year, and over a 20 or 30-year retirement, it can add up to tens of thousands of dollars in lost benefits. For someone retiring at 67 and living to 90, the cumulative loss can be substantial. This isn't just a one-time tweak, it's a permanent change to how benefits grow. Critics of the Trump administration's approach argue that it effectively amounts to a benefit cut, especially for the oldest and most vulnerable retirees. Those who live the longest will feel the compounding effect of these lower COLAs most sharply. This is particularly concerning for women and minorities, who often have longer life expectancies and rely more heavily on Social Security due to lower lifetime earnings and less access to private pensions. What's described as a technical improvement in accuracy can, in practice, lead to greater financial insecurity for those who depend on Social Security the most. This debate goes to the core of Social Security's purpose. Should Social Security be managed with strict actuarial precision, even if it means lower benefits for retirees? Or should it prioritize providing a strong safety net, even if that means using a more generous inflation measure? The Trump administration's push for a more accurate calculation method signaled a move toward long-term solvency, but at the cost of reducing the real-world purchasing power of millions of retirees over time. During the Trump administration, the Social Security Retirement Earnings Test saw some notable changes, especially in how thresholds and enforcement were handled. The Balancing Act remained, but the annual earnings limit was increased, allowing retirees to earn more before benefits were withheld. Enforcement also became stricter, with improved tracking of reported earnings to ensure compliance with the new thresholds. As before, once you reach full retirement age, the test no longer applies and any withheld benefits are recalculated and returned to you. The 2026 Social Security shift is rooted in reforms set in motion during the Trump era, policies that continue to shape the program today. As full retirement age rises to 67, a move influenced by earlier reforms, the annual earnings limit is also expected to climb, reflecting both inflation and the legacy of those policy changes. These adjustments will ripple out, especially for part-time workers in their early 60s, echoing the long-term consequences of Trump-era decisions. A higher limit means you can earn more before benefits are reduced, an outcome that makes early claiming while working more appealing, just as intended by those earlier reforms. It's a small rule change, but it signals a larger shift in how Trump-era policies continue to influence our views on work, retirement, and aging in America. Let's break down the Social Security tax structure, especially as it was shaped by Trump administration policies. Under the Trump administration, the basic FICA rate remained at 6.2% for both you and your employer, but the taxable wage cap continued to rise each year, reflecting ongoing adjustments. Any income above the annual cap, set at $137,700 in 2020, and increasing each year, wasn't taxed for Social Security, so higher earners still paid a smaller percentage overall. This cap continued to match the maximum benefit you could receive, keeping the link between what you pay in and what you get out. During the Trump administration, proposals surfaced to raise the Social Security earnings ceiling. This move would require high earners to contribute more to the system, increasing the amount of income subject to Social Security taxes. For those with higher incomes, this meant a larger portion of their earnings could be taxed for Social Security, potentially impacting their take-home pay. These proposals aimed to strengthen Social Security's finances, but also sparked debate about fairness and the future burden on high earners. During the Trump administration, several policy shifts affected spousal Social Security benefits, altering both eligibility and how benefits are calculated. Changes included tightening eligibility requirements and modifying the way spousal benefits are determined, which could reduce the amount some spouses receive. For those who paused their careers for caregiving, these Trump-era adjustments may mean lower retirement security, highlighting how policy changes can significantly affect families' futures. Survivor benefits have long been a vital part of Social Security, offering support to families after the loss of a loved one. During the Trump administration, several proposals emerged that could have impacted these benefits. While no major cuts to survivor benefits were enacted, there were discussions about reducing overall Social Security spending, which raised concerns among advocates for widows and children who depend on these payments. Although the Trump administration did not implement significant changes, the proposals highlighted how political decisions can shape the future security of survivors relying on Social Security. The Trump administration faced the same big question: how to keep Social Security strong for future generations. While the trust funds continued to face challenges, the administration's approach focused on protecting benefits without major structural changes. Major proposals included pledges not to cut Social Security, but also suggestions to stimulate economic growth as a way to boost payroll tax revenues. No sweeping reforms were enacted, but the debate over raising the retirement age, adjusting benefit formulas, or increasing payroll taxes continued, highlighting the ongoing challenge of balancing solvency with political promises. The landscape of Social Security reform has shifted with each administration. During the Trump era, proposals focused on cost containment and administrative changes, contrasting with earlier pushes for expansion and later calls for more aggressive fixes. For example, the idea of requiring all new state and local government workers to join Social Security was debated under Trump, echoing earlier discussions but gaining new urgency as fiscal pressures mounted. Investing trust funds in stocks for higher returns was also floated, though Trump-era policymakers were cautious, wary of market volatility, unlike some later proposals that embraced more risk. Adjusting cost of living increases, a perennial topic, saw renewed attention, with Trump's administration weighing changes to slow benefit growth, while previous and subsequent leaders debated how to balance savings with retirees' needs. Ultimately, the direction of Social Security reform, whether under Trump or any administration, depends on informed citizens making their voices heard. As we wrap up, let's quickly recap the 6 major Social Security changes introduced during the Trump administration, each of which continues to impact retirees and future beneficiaries. First, stricter eligibility reviews for disability benefits were implemented, making it more challenging for some applicants to qualify. Second, the frequency of continuing disability reviews increased, meaning more frequent check-ins for those already receiving disability benefits. Third, administrative changes led to longer wait times and more complex appeals for those contesting benefit denials. Fourth, there were adjustments to the calculation of cost of living adjustments, which affected annual benefit increases. Fifth, funding priorities shifted, impacting Social Security Administration staffing and resources. And sixth, new rules were introduced for representative payees, increasing oversight for those managing benefits on behalf of others. These changes continue to shape how Social Security works today, and may influence your benefits in the years ahead. Staying informed about both past and upcoming Social Security updates is the best way to protect your retirement future. For more updates and guidance, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Your future security starts with staying informed. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. With that, you are ahead of 90% of most people in America. Here is the bonus tip that we promised. Don't just rely on Social Security as your only source of income. Start building a backup plan with savings, investments, or side income streams. That way, if reforms reduce benefits, you'll still be financially secure. The information provided in this content is for educational and informational purposes only, and should not be considered financial, legal, or tax advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, or legal counsel before making any financial decisions. The creator of this content is not responsible for any actions taken based on the information provided. Investments and financial decisions carry risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results.